The Department of Natural Resources and Conservation relies too heavily on landowners for data that contributes to the water rights information system. In one of our latest audit reports, we found that the DNRC relied too much on owners with varying knowledge of their own water rights for the accuracy of the water rights information system, which the DNRC manages. I'm content editor Eric Seidel, and I'm here with the author of the report, titled Data Quality in the Montana Water Rights Information System, Austin Powell. Stay with us over the next few minutes as we give you what you need to know as you read the report, potentially updating your own water right data, or considering areas for future study. Austin, thanks for being here with me. How's it going?
Hey, it's going pretty well.
I know that you kind of stumbled into this new podcast platform that we're doing, and you're kind of the guinea pig in this, but I'm appreciative of you coming on and talking about your audit. So thanks again.
Yeah, it's exciting to be part of the new podcast. I'm always excited to talk about my audit. Feels good to be the guinea pig.
So before we dive into your particular audit, Austin, if you wouldn't mind just giving any listeners who might have a quick introduction, who you are and what you do for the Legislative Audit Division.
Sure. So my name is Austin Powell. I'm an Associate Management Program Analyst with the Legislative Audit Division. I'm approaching 2 years with the division, and I am a performance auditor.
So what about your start? How'd you get your start in the audit division? What's your background in, and what was it that led you to state government, particularly the audit division?
So my background is in mathematics, and my master's is in industrial engineering, which is about process improvement, mostly for the private industry, but it has been interesting to apply that to state government. I love Montana, and I moved back after my master's degree, and I was aware of the Legislative Audit Division because my family has worked here previously. I've been here about 2 years, and I've really enjoyed it.
So now as we get into the audit, the audits that you and your team come up with, they're performance audits. Could you explain maybe give us a timeline of the steps that a performance audit goes through from start to finish?
Absolutely. So our topics are prioritized by the committee, the Legislative Audit Committee. We perform usually 6 to 8 audits in a year, and these audits include us setting up an audit objective, defining what methodologies will perform during field work, and then communicating any findings and results to the department. Once we have findings or we think there's an area for improvement with the processes or management, we finalize any recommendations and conclusions, get the response from the agency on these recommendations, conclusions, and throughout the process, we're talking to the agency about our results and what we've seen to make sure that we're not surprising them at the end of this. And after the agency responds, whether they concur or do not concur with our recommendations, we present that to the legislature at the next Legislative Audit Committee.
And I also think it's important to note that the entire time that what you described is happening, the report itself goes through a rigorous review process.
Definitely. The internal process for making sure we get audits right is rigorous, especially the reporting process, where we go back and forth internally and with the agency to make sure that we're not only getting our arguments, but we're also addressing the correct issues and approaching the problems in the correct way so that it's not only going to increase the efficiency of state government, but also be feasible for the department.
All right, Austin. Well, we're digging into the subject matter. We're digging into your audit report. So what information do we need to know foundationally as background information as we crack open your report?
So before we talk about the water rights information system, we should talk about what a water right is in Montana. According to the Constitution, Montana owns all the water within its borders, including groundwater, surface water, and atmospheric water. However, citizens of Montana can obtain a water right from the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation to put water to a beneficial use. Beneficial uses include domestic uses such as a well for your house, stock water for livestock, irrigation rights, recreational rights, commercial rights if you have a business that requires using water or you just want to provide water to customers. There's a variety of beneficial uses that citizens can obtain a water right for. Now, water rights have a lot of different categories and are broken down in a number of different ways. Water rights predominantly are defined in 2 groups. So older water rights before 1973 are managed by the Montana Water Court, and the court sets the historical record for these older rights. Newer water rights are obtained through the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation for the beneficial uses today. To obtain a water right through the department, you have to submit an application to one of their 8 regional offices across the state. As long as the water is legally available, they will check over the application, and that is how you'd obtain a water right and establish a priority date.
Okay, so you mentioned priority date there. What does that mean?
Yeah, the priority date of a water right is the date it was first put to beneficial use. In Montana, older, more senior water rights get water first based on the priority date.
Okay, so with that in mind, what kind of work did you do that led you to your findings? Can you share any interesting work that you did, survey-wise, or even boots-on-the-ground field work?
Sure. Before I talk about what we did for the audit, I'd like to say what our audit objective was. And after looking at the topic prioritized by the committee, we decided we wanted to determine the quality of the water right record data housed in the water rights information system. And we wanted to do this in a number of ways. First, we wanted to check how the information aligned with paper documents submitted by owners. DNRC uses paper processes for applications, correspondence, and we wanted to ensure that the information in the system matched these documents.
Okay, so you made clear then, before you did any work, an objective was defined. You have to know what the work is in reference to. Now, you did say survey was a part of the work, but how about as far as boots on the ground? Were there any visits to water right owners or things along those lines?
Yeah, so we actually visited a small sample of water rights around the Helena area to verify that the information in the water rights information system matched what was actually happening on the ground. We also interviewed staff in the central office in Helena and across the regional offices around the state. Beyond interviewing state staff, we also interview other states to see how they manage their water rights record data.
Okay, Austin. So we've really set the stage here. We understand the background, we understand what you were looking at, and we know about the work you did that went into this audit. Let's get into your key findings. In the end, when you looked at this, when you were done with the audit, what did you find? What was important?
So the objective of the audit was to determine the quality of water right record data in the water rights information system. As part of this, we found that the department does not have a formalized strategy for how the data should be managed in the water rights information system, and it doesn't establish any data quality thresholds that are maintained for organizational or stakeholder purposes. DNRC does a good job when the information is presented to them from owners of checking the information, ensuring it's accurate, but once the information is in the system, they rely on owners to continually check and notify the department if there's errors or changes.
So as someone who doesn't know a ton about the system, why is it a problem if I, the person with the water right, have to be the one to update the system? Why is it a big deal if the water right owner has to update the information to the DNRC?
It's a good question, and it leads into one of our other findings, which is that from our survey, we know that owners don't always understand their water rights. And this really limits the data quality you can have if you rely on them as a primary source of quality assurance. Any sort of outreach and education to owners, however, would increase their capability to check their water rights and ensure the information is accurate. Those were our main key findings, but we also found opportunities for the department to enhance and integrate more electronic processes into their work, which would help reduce costs and overall streamline their processes.
So I think it's fair to assume that those kind of findings might have led to some recommendations. In the end, did you end up issuing some recommendations as part of this audit report?
Absolutely. So we ended up with 5 recommendations. The first recommendation addresses sort of the data quality strategy, which is that we recommend the department establish and implement a data quality strategy for the water rights information system. Our next recommendation really addresses the public outreach and education. The department was already inconsistently educating water rights owners and property entities. However, we want them to formalize this and enhance the current education outreach across the state. Our last 3 recommendations were addressing updating and enhancing the electronic processes at the department. The first one was establishing online counterparts for the paper forms for water rights. The second was ensuring there was a good way to transfer internal documents and attach good organizational information to those documents. And the last one was integrating more GIS functionality for stakeholders.
Austin, as we start to close it out, if I'm a reader of this report or an owner of a water right, why is this report important?
Yeah, that's a great question. This audit report really dives into the data quality. But what does that mean for someone with a water right? Essentially, we expect water resources to become more scarce as times go on, as we've seen in other states. It's important for water rights owners to participate in these processes, to understand their water right information and to check it. The data quality in this system determines how much water you get and whether you get it first based on the priority date. As you would expect, if you want to make sure that you get the water you need, it's important to check and understand your water right.
All right, perfect, Austin. I actually think that's a really good segue to wrap up with. If you'd like to read more or learn more about Austin's Water Right Information System audit, you can go to our website at leg.mt.gov and just click the links for the Legislative Audit Division down at the bottom of the page, and you'll see all the audits, including Austin's, and you can click on them in their PDF form or online form and get more information about them. Thank you so much for listening to our pilot episode. I'm content editor Eric Seidel, and I've been joined with Austin Powell. Thanks for listening, and have a good day.